I now call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to order. My name is Tristan Miller, the Saucy Sleuth.
I'm Tyler Riley, cop and a half.
And I'm Melissa Meli, the spy.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/adcpod and browse the unmatched selections of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Just go to audibletrial.com/adcpod. Today, we're not talking about Poirot. No, to Poirot. Today, we're talking about Knives Out, a 2019 film by director-writer Rian Johnson.
Yeah, we are. We gotta keep it current sometimes. Keep up with the latest trends. What the kids are all talking about.
I mean, they are talking about this. Admittedly, Twitter is aglow. Also, a brief technical note. Tyler is calling in from New Jersey, and Melissa is calling in from Astoria, Queens. And I am at home base in Ridgewood. So if at any time we are over-talking or the microphone quality is different to what you are used to, that is why. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm just going to let you know that's the case.
It's snowing, guys.
Yes.
That makes every transportation thing hard.
Yeah.
Ain't no snoppiness now. I messed it up.
Yeah. All right. So we want to go with the plot with this one? Do you want to just start off with, like, what happens in the beginning?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, someone dies.
Someone does die. There's this rich family.
The Thrumbies.
The Thrumbies.
Perfect rich family name.
Yes. Christopher Plummer is the matriarch of the family, and he dies. Patriarch. I said matriarch, didn't I?
Yeah.
Live and loin.
Well, yeah.
Who's to say? We don't get into it that deep. In this film.
Not in those terms. But his name is Harlan Thrombey.
Yes. Harlan Thrombey. Played to perfection by Christopher Plummer. So good.
It just sounds so sexual.
What, Thrombey?
Harlan Thrombey.
Yeah, it really does. A Harlem Thrombey. You know. You know the rest.
Indeed.
I think so. I have in my notes vis-a-vis Christopher Plummer, I just put Christopher Plummer is the OG GOAT. Confirm or deny your opinion?
Captain Von Trapp?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you think that Christopher Plummer is the greatest of all time? Thoughts?
I do not. I think he is one of several greats, but I don't think he is the great.
Okay. Who would you consider to be the great?
Simone Biles?
That's solid.
Yep.
Girl got medals to prove it. I got nothing. Though I would also put up WWE's own Shane McMahon because he has won a tournament where he is the best in the world.
Oh, officially?
Okay.
Officially the best in the world.
Okay.
But don't a lot of wrestlers claim that?
But he has a trophy.
Oh,
that
I
says
see.
It.
Sure, I see. I'll take that and I'll counteroffer you Muhammad Ali, saying himself, confirming the fact that he was the greatest of all time.
I mean, it's hard to dispute. You can't argue with a dead man, you know?
Yeah, that is true. You can't.
Way to go. Just going out on top. Like, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, truly. But I really enjoyed his performance, as I do every performance that Christopher Plummer does.
Oh, yeah.
He's always
Great
good.
job.
He's always... I've never seen it. He's so good in Beginners. It made me want to watch another movie with him in it. So that's how you know it's a good performance.
So... the thing is, he's dead at, like, the beginning of the movie. And I was like, how are we possibly going to... I was so disappointed. I'm like, we're not going to get any Christopher Plummer. He's just lying there dead. His throat all slit open.
Just pulling a Drew Barrymore. I dug it.
Yeah. In Scream. For you youngins who haven't seen Scream.
I'm one of them.
Oh, God. Hi. Why am I 300 years old today? Drew Barrymore dies.
Can I tell you, between you and me not seeing Scream, you've seen it, but you're watching the prequels for the first time. It's like so, like, our paths of what it's so interesting. I think, but.
Drew Barrymore dies in, like, the first 10 minutes of Scream.
I did not know that. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's a really old movie.
You ain't gonna watch it.
Yeah, I was not. I was not interested. Sorry to this movie. I do not know this movie.
Well, it struck me very much because she was wearing a white sweater, of course. And then she got stabbed real good. And then it became red.
So,
anyway.
So the housekeeper, well, the nurse, rather, I should say, Mr.
No, you're right. The housekeeper.
Yeah, the housekeeper.
Discovers
correct.
the body, Fran.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And then we cut to Marta, do we?
Yes.
Then? With her home?
Yeah, she's at home, and her sister's trying to watch, like, Dateline or something. And she has to watch it in the kitchen, apparently, because she can't get service in her room. And...
Relatable.
And her mom says to the sister, could you not, with the murder show, your sister just actually lost someone she was close to for real.
Can I tell you a fun fact about the scene?
Yes.
One of the voices that you hear from the computer is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, Joseph Gordon-Levitt has been in every single one of Rian Johnson's movies, I believe.
Oh, that's
doing
delightful.
Cameos since, I think, Brick, which was his second... I think his first feature, but his second thing he made. Yeah.
Okay.
He's even in Last Jedi. He plays the guy that was like, oh, I told him not to park there. On Canto Bight.
That's fun. It's like John Ratzenberger in the Pixar movies. Okay, yes. So Marta, who is Harlan Thrombey's personal nurse, basically.
A purse, if you will.
Sure.
And confidant.
Yeah, and confidant.
And friend.
Yeah. And so she is pretty upset about the death and gets a call from one of the family members saying, hey, we need you to come by the house because we need to answer some detectives' questions.
Yes.
Okie doke. Great.
There's a really great moment when she answers the phone. Because it's Michael Shannon's character. I can't remember his name.
Walt,
right. She goes, yes, Walt. And he goes, it's Walt.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
It is.
I love it. This movie, heads up, is very funny. It's very
great.
Funny. It's very fun. It's very entertaining.
Yeah, very entertaining. Okay. So, yes, she gets that phone call. She drives over to the house. It's very big. It's someone, I think a detective calls it like the Clue house or something.
Yeah, it's like a clue board.
Like a clue board.
Yeah, like a clue board. Because there's all the rooms and where you could possibly have, killed people and stuff. So she goes there and she's waiting around for a long time. We find out that she was not invited to the funeral. And people keep making excuses to her.
She was outvoted.
Right. Like, people were like, oh, sorry, I wanted you to be there, but I was outvoted. Okie doke. And it's like, someone's lying.
Yeah.
But she is made to wait around while we get interviews with the family members, which are great because we get little flashbacks during these interviews. And everyone, while they're being interviewed by these two detectives, is sitting in front of this giant wreath of knives. It's like a sculpture.
My favorite George R.R. Martin property.
Wreath of Knives. So we're getting these interviews intercut, and it's actually really, really well done because, you know, we kind of get them each answering the same question, and we're cutting in and out rather than just sitting for one interview the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who do we meet? We meet
Walt.
Yes, who is the younger son of Harlan, and he manages the publishing company, but he does not own it. Right, because Harlan is a mystery writer, of course.
Yeah. Which I thought was very fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And so Walt manages it, the publishing. And then we have his daughter, Linda, meaning Harlan's daughter. So Walt's sister, Linda, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who's wearing super cool glasses. They're a fun shape. I like them very much. And sure. Her husband is Richard. Yes. And Richard.
What is she? She has her own company. She has her own company, and Richard does not, doesn't have it in his name or anything. So he's really like relying on her financially to remain well off.
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what the company is. Yeah. I can't remember. Doesn't matter.
It's not important. It's not
important. No.
And then we have perhaps one of the most fascinating characters in the whole movie, played by Toni Collette.
Joni.
Oh my gosh.
Joni doing the best Gwyneth Paltrow impression she could muster. That's from her, not me.
Yeah. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Toni
it's fantastic.
Collette, amazing actress.
Very good in this role.
Yeah, she has like her own beauty company, and it's called like, it's not Phlegm, but it sounds kind of like
Flam.
Flam. There we go.
Yeah. Adjacent to Goop.
Yeah. So she was married to Walt's older son.
Now deceased. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deceased like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And
mad dead.
Yeah, and her daughter is Meg, and so she's still hanging around. Joni is still around, and Harlan has been giving her money, and also Meg money to go to school.
Yes. And they all have intense conversations with Harlan the night before, which is his birthday party.
His 85th birthday party.
Yes. And
or a couple nights before, whatever it was, because the funeral had already happened by the point we're getting these interviews.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Walt, they had a discussion about him continuing on as the head of the company.
And basically that he was not going to.
Yeah. With Joni, he found out that she's been double dipping with the amounts offered to her to cover Meg's college fund.
Yeah.
Richard is having an affair. And what's Jamie Lee Curtis, what does she do? Like, what's the confrontation there?
There isn't one?
She doesn't.
No.
Yeah, she doesn't have one. She's just fine. She's just the favorite. Got it.
Yeah. So basically it's the husband that is in trouble from that family. Well, we also, actually, Jamie Lee Curtis and Richard, so Linda and Richard, the character names, have a son who
they do.
Is called Ransom. And that's his middle name. My gosh.
White people at it again.
And he left during the 85th birthday party. Kind of stormed out.
A shouting match.
Yeah.
What's his name?
With Harlan in the office.
Thurston Howell III.
So, what is the last thing he said? Something like, not you'll regret this, or you won't get away with...
Oh, man.
Something
Yeah,
like...
you won't get away with this, or something like that.
Yeah. I don't remember. The actual wording was important, but I don't remember it. But yeah, something very threatening is what he yells. So
he storms out and takes his Beamer, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a Beamer.
And he has not...
Great car.
He did not go to the funeral either. And he is not there right now. So we do not see the son, but he clearly has had a bad time. We also learn about a couple of other characters that we don't get interviews with yet.
Yeah.
We learn about the Walt's son with his wife Donna.
Yes.
Donna.
He's an alt-right troll.
Yeah.
Jacob, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jacob.
He's a nasty internet boy.
Yeah.
Who hates the libs.
Yeah.
And wants to own them.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
As one is wont to do.
We do get interviews with Meg, Joni's daughter.
Yeah.
But she does not seem to have much of a motive to kill her grandfather.
No, specifically because he's paying for the schooling.
And she doesn't know that she's about to be cut off.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's going to school for some ridiculous thing.
Sure.
That's like... She's very, very specific and very, very liberal. And so she and Jacob are at odds constantly.
Yeah.
Throughout the film.
Yeah, they're not close cousins. And...
Is that a euphemism?
No.
Good.
It's just what I said. Yeah.
Okay.
And all during these interviews, there's a man sitting about, I don't know, 6 to 10 feet behind them.
The detectives.
Yeah, in an armchair at the piano.
Yes.
And every once in a while, he just hits a piano key.
Yeah, when they're lying.
Yeah. Ding. They look over, and then there's this
like,
whole inner cut of, who the hell is that?
Yeah. Joni is the first person to have the gumption to actually bring it up. Mm-hmm. And then he introduces himself, and she's like, I read a tweet that had an article about you. You're a famous detective.
Yes.
Yeah. And he is. And his name escapes me right now.
Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, LeBlanc.
And he is
played by Daniel Craig.
Played by Daniel Craig. And he is very much a Southern gentleman.
He can't even do, like, contractions. He's that Southern. Like, that's another level of Southern. I cannot for the life of me. Like, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he starts asking some questions of his own, realizes that there's, untruths being told, blah, 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 blah. Then he wants to meet with Marta.
Yeah, but before that, they all go into the veranda, and he starts discussing it with the two detectives. Then he's like, I don't know. And then we find out that he doesn't know who hired him.
Oh, that's right.
He received a blank envelope full of cash. I do not know who hired me. I cannot tell you. And Marta is hiding, and he basically catches her spying. And then he starts grilling her. And then throughout the scene, we discover that she has a psychosomatic reflex to lying where she vomits. She can't stand it. She vomits every time she lies.
So Harlan has been confiding in Marta.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Benoit Blanc starts asking Marta about different things that he knows to be true that, just kind of to test her. Mm-hmm. So the first thing he asks her is, is Richard having an affair? Mm-hmm. And she is uncomfortable, and she says no. And then promptly vomits into, like, a statue.
All over. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, I thought it was like a figure of speech. And she's like, no, this is my life.
Yeah.
You're being ableist right now and a bit cruel.
Jeez. Yes.
But then they interview her.
Mm-hmm.
But is this where we get the first flashback with her? Which is,
Yeah.
I think, one of the most important things in the whole movie.
We get a huge flashback with her that describes basically exactly what happened that night. You know, in the first third of the movie, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So, basically what happens is she was administering his medication. She switched. She got the vials fell out. It's very Emperor's New Groove. The vials fell on the ground, and she administered too much morphine instead of the other, and then the antidote to morphine was missing, and so basically Christopher Plummer's like, just let me die, and then I'll tell you how to escape. And basically she leaves, and then she comes up the trellis and then disguises herself as him later on, and then goes back out and then leaves, so it appears as if he's been alive.
This is important because Marta's mother is in this country illegally.
Yes.
So if she were to get found out, and she doesn't mind paying for this mistake, paying for this crime, but it's really on the fact that her mother is in the country illegally, which is why she decides to go through with this plot.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it is all Harlan's thinking. And
Yes.
I cannot tell you, like, how much we're skating over. Like, the way he describes this, their entire interaction, the playfulness between the two of them. Like,
it's beautiful.
It's a lovely friendship. And it's really well acted, really well done, really well written.
Get some really good crying out of Anna.
Yeah.
Who plays Marta.
Yes, she is devastated when she realizes the mistake that she's made, and she at first is describing it to Harlan, and he's like, oh, this sounds like a great thing I could write down in my book, as she's like digging through her bag to find the naloxone. It is naloxone, right? I don't remember.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, she is frantically searching through her bag, describing that he is basically, he'll be dead in 10 minutes. And so he says, okay, great. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to have to make sure that you are not connected to this. I do not want that for you. I do not want that for your family. You're the best. So you are going to go down the stairs, and you're going to make sure that you note the time, because Walt is out smoking a cigar. And you say
goodbye very loudly.
Yeah, say goodbye very loudly. Draw attention to the time if you can. So, is it midnight already? And he looks at his watch. Sure enough, it's midnight. And then he says, so you avoid the security cameras. You're going to make a turn before the statue. Or is it after the statue? Or is it before the statue? She can't remember. So she picks one and hopes it's the correct one. Pulls over to the side of the road. Then she climbs up the terrace and into a window leading from, like, that's a secret passageway. And he instructs her to go get his robe and, like, dressing cap and make herself seen from behind, going for a midnight snack or whatever. So Walt calls in and says, oh, Dad, are you going in for a snack? Don't do that. And so she turns...
Go back to bed.
Yeah, so she turns around. And the stairs are very loud and creaky, so it draws the attention of everyone. And Jamie Lee Curtis, Linda, is a really light sleeper, so she hears the steps creaking, blah, 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 blah. Great. So... he is established as still alive after she has presumably left. Sounds like a good plan. And he says, and then climb back down the terrace and get out and make sure that you're not seen.
Yes.
And of course, we have this other wonderful, amazing character.
Sorry. Before that,
his mother.
She does break the trellis on the way up.
Yes.
She does break the trellis. And during one of the times that Jamie Lee Curtis woke up, it was because the dogs were barking. However, the dogs love Marta.
Yeah. They didn't bark at her.
Yeah. Fun fact about Thromby's mother.
Yes.
The actor that plays her is 6 years younger than Christopher Plummer.
Amazing.
Harlan's mother sees her climbing out the window and she says, "Ranson, are you back again?"
Yeah.
And then there's an awkward pause and then she just leaves. Because it's presumed that she's ancient beyond the counts of time and is senile. Because she doesn't speak much.
Right.
Yeah.
This woman.
Yeah.
But has a voracious appetite, from what I remember.
Yes. Yes, she does. Constantly eating. Like a Brad Pitt level of like, slow down. Buddy.
Respect.
Does Brad Pitt eat a lot?
In every movie, there's at least one scene where he's eating.
Oh, okay. I never.
Yeah, it's like it's just like a weird thing that he does because he's like, people eat so that you should see him eat in movies. And I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not wrong. But is he right?
We don't see him in every movie. Like, people do that.
I always wondered that about Lord of the Rings growing up. I'm like, where are the bathroom breaks? That's a lot of walking.
So much.
This is all in her mind. And then one of the instructions that Christopher Plummer gives her is to say these facts in this order. Because then she is technically not lying.
Right.
And she says those facts to LeBlanc. And then the interview is over. And he's like, well, okay. And then there's a wake or something, a memorial service later that day.
Yeah.
And then he recruits her during that to be his, like, Watson.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what he
After
says.
After there's some big fuss during that time, right?
Is there?
Wait, what did you... What?
Isn't there some sort of, like, confrontation during the memorial service, or no? Am I making that up?
I
don't think during the memorial service.
Okay. She's talking with Fran, though, and they're talking about a TV show. That's all. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the night ends with Marta becoming the Watson of the case.
Okay.
And she, like, drives home, like, conflicted because of what she knows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is that she murdered him.
Well,
she manslaughtered him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that great Seinfeld bit of, like, this manslaughter is the most socially acceptable version of murder. And then there's just a beat, and Jerry turns to him and goes, "Can't believe it's not murder."
Oh boy. Well, I mean, gosh, it's one of those very weird circumstances.
Yeah.
Because once I learn what happened, I'm like, oh, I hope she gets away with this.
Yeah, absolutely. She's
I was
clearly
like, she needs
like,
to pay for her crimes.
That's not what anyone wants. That's not what he wanted for her.
I mean, it's what I wanted.
Oh, you make a mistake.
Justice for Harlow.
Feel free to at me.
While we're in this zone of not talking about the plot, my friend Chelsea, shout out to Chelsea Babcock, longtime supporter on the Patreon. She tweeted out the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, and it was just knives out for Harambe, and I did die. It was incredible. That is all I wanted to share with that.
Amazing.
With you. Yeah. So the next day
Is the will
they begin
reading next?
Yes.
I thought that was just they begin their investigation. And because they're tramping around, the will reading is next. That is the next day, but they're tramping around the back 40.
Yes.
Because they meet with a security officer who has a tape, and then she realizes that she pulled in front of the statue rather than behind the statue, so she's on the tape, so she somehow manages to get her hands on it and take a magnet to it, so it gets erased. So then they also go down this footpath that is full of mud and has her footprints in it that leads to the back gate. And then she does this very funny thing where she walks ahead of them. And he's like, no, stay off the path. She's like, what? He's like, no, don't come here. She's like, what? And then, then she just walks over her own footprints. It was very good.
It was great.
Yeah, and then the dogs run past at one point, also like messing up the evidence.
It's very frustrating for the detectives, but very funny for us.
Yeah, it's great.
Then it's the will reading, right?
Yes.
Frank
Well,
Oz.
he's also at the back door, and that's when the dog retrieves the trellis bit that broke off.
Right. Yeah, but then she throws it away.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, she plays... And then...
She plays fetch with it.
Basically, the dog fetches it.
Which is fantastic. But then there's this will that needs to be read. Where there's a will, there's Frank Oz reading the will.
True life.
Yeah, and this is the first movie Frank Oz has visibly appeared in 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was the last Little Shop of Horrors?
I think it might have been Blues Brothers. But
okay.
yeah, something around that same time. But he's done like voice stuff. Obviously, he was Yoda in Last Jedi and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he reads the will. Everything's left to Marta. There's outrage. The family freaks out. And then Ransom, who has showed up quite perkily and was like, he literally tells everyone, die.
It's amazing.
And they're all clombing around her at her car. She can't get her car started. He picks her up in his Beamer and they drive off.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
So during this entire time that we're introduced to Ransom, who is played by Chris Evans, he is the worst. This character is terrible and awful, and I hate him. And also, he's still hot though.
Sure.
It's very,
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. He does look good in that moderately scruffed up sweater. Yeah. I'll give you that one.
Yeah. And don't shore me the whole time. I have my own opinions. You have yours. It's fine.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm agreeing. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm right in the middle of you two on this. Like, literally right in the middle on this.
I mean, there you go. That's the three
fine.
genders.
The spectrum of Chris Evans is told by Amateur Detective
Fully represented
Club.
here.
All in. No, but yes. But yeah,
he's turd for brains, this character.
No, he's smart. He's just awful. But
yeah, like his brains are rotted. He's got worms in his brains.
Okay, sure.
Is this a Grinch thing?
Almost. That's spiders for brains.
Okay.
You got spiders in your soul. But yeah, he's the worst.
They're crowding her. They are all with their different demands, crowding Marta, and she cannot drive her car away without running one of them over. Which I was like, you might just want to do that as well. I mean, at this point, what do you got to lose? So,
we forgot to mention something.
Okay.
The Nazi boy was masturbating in the bathroom, and
was
overheard.
he masturbating?
Yes.
No, I think he was just reading.
Sure. All in
It's
favor
unknown.
of
He's in the
just
bathroom,
reading,
though.
say aye.
I abstain. Like the little boy in the
Yes,
bathroom.
exactly. Okay, but anyway, so he overhears the two Chris's in this movie fighting. They're yelling, and he says, "You won't get away with this."
Wait, the two
And then
Chris's?
he says,
Plumber and Evans.
Chris.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Not characters. Gotcha.
No.
Sorry. Saying you won't get away with this, and something will. So they all knew that he was out of the will, and they're all like, "Rhonda Shaw, you man, you're the worst." So ha. and then it bites them in the butt. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
all.
as they're crowding the car, Ransom pulls up next to Marta's car and is like, come on, get in. So he drives her to a diner and he says, listen, you got to eat something. She eats something. And
A sausage stew.
yeah, sausage and beans.
It looked real good.
Oh, it was a pub and it was a full English breakfast.
There you go. So then at that point, Ransom basically is like, okay, well, I know you know something, so spill everything you know. And I know you can't lie. And also, I just filled you full of lots of food. That would be gross if you threw it up.
Yeah, and the reason he knows is because they all played Mafia last year at a dinner party.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Which is very fun. That's a fun goof. Well done, Ryan. A+.
Yeah. So she confesses everything to him. And he says, well, all right, don't worry. We're going to make sure that you're fine. Like, I want to make sure you're fine, but, like, why don't you just give me some money just, to help me out since I'm helping you out. It's like one threatening letter short of blackmail. But
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, sure, sounds great. Perfect. And then she gets a phone call from Meg while she's sitting at this table, and Meg is like, listen, you need to do whatever you want. They've clearly always been friendly, the two of them. And she does some emotional manipulation with her.
Yeah. Of
And
like,
she's-
I'm worried, and
Yeah.
Marta's like, I'll take care of you. And then
Which-
once she hears that,
yeah.
she's like,
Which I had a question about this moment.
Yeah.
Was this phone call at the behest of the family, or was she caught making the phone call by the family?
It was
I
definitely
believe it was at the
behest of the family.
yes, behest.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was
Yeah,
under
because
duress.
later she says, I'm sorry, they made me, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, I just missed that. Thank you.
It's okay.
Yeah. No, Meg, I believed her. She
Yeah.
seemed real genuine. She was also like, well, I'm going to lose my college tuition, and that is pretty upsetting, and like,
Yeah.
I get that.
So that's what confused me about the genuineness, like not the genuineness of the call, but like I could see someone like calling because she did like call to check up on her number one, and then she asked about the tuition. So like even if she wasn't pressured by the family, even if and she still made that call, I would have been fine with the character.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Same, but I think that the wording of it probably came more from the family than from her.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, because I think you should give
Because-
it all back kind of deal.
There's a really beautiful parallel, because at the memorial service, this is the hubbub that I remember. It's not a hubbub at all. They say they're going to take care of Marta,
Oh, yeah.
because they felt like family. And so she says the exact same thing to Meg. And it's kind of like pocket sand. It's like, it stings a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, once she gets off the phone across the table from Ransom goes, all right, well, there's that. So what's the thing? Because there's like a question at the end. Oh, did you leave any evidence
Yeah.
that Blanc can find? And she says, yes, there's mud in the hallway.
Yes.
He's like, ugh, that's rough.
Oh.
Okay. We're going to
But
figure...
he's like, footprints? And she's like, no, just mud.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, we can figure this out.
They part ways. She's like now back at home. She's woken up by her mother and sister. They're like, oh my gosh, like there are people here. Are we rich? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So
The
she
news
goes
has
talk to
gotten
her-
a hold of this.
And she everyone's outside, so she was like, I have things to do. And she talked to her mother. Her mother's like, I don't feel good about any of this. And she's like, Mom, neither do I.
Yeah.
So she decides that she's going to sneak out the back way. And then we get this super creepy scene where
Michael
Walt,
Shannon,
cane and all, is like hobbling after her down this hallway,
oh my gosh,
trying like,
full,
and she like is picking up mail as well.
Yeah.
And he's just like harassing, like slowly, like doing like this serial killer stroll towards her.
So good.
Talking about how, like, you know, if she gives the money back, how they're going to take care of her. And like, oh, how wonderful she's been to the family. And, oh, it would suck. You know, you have all these news crews. Like, if someone found out about your mom's illegal status.
Yeah.
What would become of you? You know, our
like,
family has all these
you.
resources. You know, we can, you know, you can get like these podunk lawyers here, but we can get you New York, California lawyers. And she has like made her way back to her own door. And it's just kind of like, yeah, well, you know what? You don't have those resources. I have those resources. I inherited everything. The money, the house, everything. Like, I don't need you.
Yeah.
And like sneakily like is able like to get away from him and like shut the door behind her without him entering the home.
And can I tell you, this scene has Michael Shannon at his full most Michael Shannon, bringing it. Great moment, great performance in this scene. Way to go. Way to go, Mikey.
Real good. It's real good.
Yeah.
So
he is the worst beard, by the way, in this movie. It's just absolutely just the pits. It's just, oh my gosh. It's stringy. It's a stringy beard.
I don't know. I kind of dig that.
Stringy beard.
It's not overly long, at least.
No. Okay, Tyler can dig it.
Yeah, he's like a Russian professor almost.
Sure,
Okay,
yeah. Someone,
yeah.
Volt.
Привет and Kogdala to you, sir.
Amazing.
Okay, so then she opens one of the pieces of mail, and it just says, "I know what you did," and then there's a photocopy of the blood sample from...
The toxicology report.
Yeah, the toxicology report from his autopsy.
But it doesn't say what's in it.
Doesn't say. It's just the top. It's just like, I have this. And so she calls up Rancid?
Yeah.
Ransom.
She calls up Rancid.
Rancid Ransom.
Sure.
And she's like, we gotta investigate this. We gotta do something at the hospital. We gotta go get these records. And then they go to the hospital, and it's on fire. It's
I do want to make a distinguish that it is the medical examiner's office, not the hospital.
Correct.
Oh, yes. Mea culpa. Yeah, where the records are being kept.
And by the way, this envelope was not a, like, addressed envelope. It was just a blank envelope that appeared in all her mail.
And there's also no threat. There's just like, I know what you did. And she says it that when they're looking at the burning building, and he's like, yeah, that's so weird. Did you get a text? No. Did you get a phone call? No. Did you get an email? I didn't check my email. She checks her email. And then there's a meet at this time and this location.
Yeah, from some sort of very mysterious email address.
Yes.
Great. So, yeah, they see that the ME's office is on fire. And then...
LeBlanc's there.
Say that again?
And LeBlanc's there.
Oh, but Blanc is there, yes.
Yeah.
And they are spotted by Blanc and the detectives. And so then there's a ridiculous car chase, just absolutely absurd. It's so...
She's in like a Hyundai Elantra hatchback or something?
Dependable.
Not if you need to be in a car chase. It's not so dependable.
That is for damn sure.
It's so good. It's so funny. It's so
good
strange.
For groceries, good for errands, not good for car chases. They should really include that in the advertisements for the Hyundai Elantra. At one point, she stops in the middle of the highway, and they pass her.
Yeah.
And then she gets off at an exit. And
yeah.
Which is a pretty boss move.
It was smart thinking, but
was
they inevitably
very
catch
smart.
up. Because
Yeah.
they're like, what are you doing? When they finally pull up next to them. Like, what are you trying
then
to pull?
They arrest Ransom.
They do.
Yeah. And take him away for questioning. And then
just for a point of order,
Yeah.
he was arrested because Harlan's mother said that she saw him at the house.
Yes,
That's right.
because there's that beautiful scene with Blanc and his mom just sitting there in silence for a while. It's very nice.
And eventually she does tell him, oh yeah, he came back. So.
Yep. And so then Marta and Blanc are on the way back to the mansion, and she's like, I need to stop and grab something. Do you mind? And he's like, no problem. And it's, of course, the clandestine meeting with the anonymous person.
Yes.
And it turns out to be in the back of a very spooky warehouse, and the figure is shrouded in shadows and sitting down, and it turns out to be Fran.
Francine.
So
Francine.
her medical bag is there, and
Yes.
she picks up this medical bag, and then she tries to talk to Fran, and Fran, or she doesn't see who it is, but she's trying to talk to the person, keeps approaching. It is terrifying. Something is clearly very wrong with this situation, and she gets up to the shrouded figure, and Fran is not doing good. She has clearly OD'd.
Oh, and an unnecessary spider on her person.
Yeah. And that crawls into her mouth, right?
Oh, don't tell me that. I don't want to.
It crawls into her mouth, and that is what makes her gasp and makes you realize that she's not, in fact, dead, but just in a terrible state.
You cannot pay me enough.
Yeah.
As a performer. Oh.
So this icky spider moment happens, and then she says, you did this. She says to Marta, you did this. And then she, falls back into unconsciousness. Marta decides to call the police. Well, not the police, 911 rather.
And does
performing
CPR.
CPR, yeah.
Yeah.
Who here among us is certified to do CPR?
I don't know when my thing expires, but I believe I am.
Oh.
Melissa, are you?
I am not.
I am. So, Melissa, you are constantly safe with us.
Oh, that's
Feel
nice.
at home always. Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course, because you work with children, I would imagine.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also cannot get measles, mumps, or rubella anytime soon.
No.
And I work with man children because I work front of house part-time at a theater.
Tyler
There you
Riley
go.
coming at front of house. Speak your truth. Yes.
I'm talking about the patrons, not my lovely coworkers, by the way.
Right, of course.
Yeah. Of course. They go to the hospital. She and LeBlanc. Is it Blanc or LeBlanc?
It's Blanc.
Blanc.
It's Blanc. Okay, it's not Matt LeBlanc.
It's not Matt LeBlanc. No.
No.
As much as I would love for that to happen in the sequel, if we get a
Yes.
prequel of this detective, Matt
Yes.
LeBlanc, top choice.
Okay, so he's in
Totally.
the car singing "Losing My Mind" from the musical Follies,
Which is amazing. It's so
Yes.
fun. It's such a
very
fun
great
thing.
moment. And then the ambulance pulls up, and he's like, "Oh, something's afoot." And then they go to the hospital, and then he's like, listen. Do you want to stay here?" And she's like, "No, I know someone here. They're gonna call me." And he's like, "Okay." So they go back to the mansion, right?
Mm-hmm. And she tells all the business.
All the business, yes.
To the detectives and to Blanc, to be clear.
Yes, to Blanc.
Yo, yes.
On the way over.
During the car ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just to
And-
Blanc. Great. Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to Blanc. And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" She's like, "I'm gonna tell everybody, and I'm gonna give the money back." And he's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is what it's only right." And he's like, "Okay." And so she gathers everybody. She's about to confess, and Blanc looks at the toxicology report, and then he stops her, and he goes, "I'm closing this investigation. He did die by suicide, so goodbye." And he goes over into the parlor.
Pause.
Yeah.
We forgot when she finds the toxicology report.
In the drawer.
Yeah, it was in Fran's stash.
Oh,
Earlier, Meg reveals at one of the dinner parties.
The
or
memorial.
the memorial.
At the memorial service, right.
At the memorial. Yeah.
I knew something happened.
Yeah.
She has like a bunch of weed.
Yeah.
Like joints
Chekhov's
stashed
weed.
In this clock in the study.
Yeah.
So that's where Marta finds the toxicology report. She doesn't read it. She just immediately hands it to Blanc and then goes to tell the family and confess.
Right.
Yes.
And he reads it and stops her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's about to confess. He reads it, stops it, brings everybody to, brings her into the adjacent room with where the interviews were conducted.
Right. With the knife wreath.
Yeah.
Also, can I just say, Wreath of Knives, I wouldn't hate as the title of a sequel.
Yeah.
No, that does sound like a murder mystery.
Let's go put it out there. It could be their holiday theme. I don't know. It's putting it out there.
Their
Rian
answer
Johnson,
to murder for
Rian
Christmas.
Johnson, as we know. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. God, it's got to be better than that.
Yes, it would be better than that.
Do you want to take a break here?
Yeah, we probably should.
Oh, this is the time, yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Tristan Miller, the saucy sleuth, coming at you from the studio. Hey, want to just acknowledge again some of the technical issues we had. Thank you so much for listening. We did our best. It was snowing. The weather outside was frightful, but our podcast is so delightful. So, if you like our show, give us a rating on iTunes. If you're listening early on Patreon, thank you so much. If you're not listening early on Patreon, you could be. We have a couple of episodes on early access, as well as several bonus clips coming out and already out. There are several tiers. It's really easy, I think, to find something that works within your budget. Please help us out. We're trying to make this show happen weekly, and in order to do that, we need your support. We're a part of the Scavengers Network as well. You can go to scavengersnetwork.com to check out the great quality content there, including State Your Case and Spooky Spouses, I Don't Know Radio, and it just keeps growing. I can't keep up. I can't keep up. There's too much. I'm drowning in good content. So you can go there to scavengersnetwork.com. Go to audibletrial.com/adcpod. Also, we're looking to do a live show in the new year, so look forward to that if you're in the New York area. Get hype, fam, as the young ones say. If you have questions, comments, concerns, if you like this movie, if you didn't like this movie, if you want us to do more movies and less Poirot, no Poirot, just like more movies rather, just let us know. I think that's something we're all amenable to. We would love your feedback, your ratings, your reviews, all of that good stuff. At ADC Pod on all social media stuff. I'm going to let you go enjoy the rest of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. It really does mean a lot. Okay. We'll see who done it. He also calls into the room Ransom.
Yes.
Take it away.
Oh.
Okay. And then we get the story about what he's been saying that there's
what could have happened was
he's been saying that it's like a donut that's missing its hole. Like there's something at the center of this that's missing.
Yeah. One of the most brilliant monologues I have heard in a movie since like Good Will Hunting. My God, it's so good.
It's really great. And he says, okay, so you know how I was saying it's like a donut that's missing its hole, and this is what I thought the hole was Marta's story, but then I realized that, in fact, it wasn't just a donut hole, but it was another donut entirely with its own hole. And it's very good. It goes on for like 5 minutes. And then he reveals the missing puzzle piece.
Yeah, the missing hole.
Yeah, if you will.
Which that should be not the sequel, but which is basic.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Tyler, take it away, please.
Okay. Also, like, stop me and correct me if I'm wrong at any point, but
always.
I doubt I am. Love you guys. After Ransom learned that Harlan was leaving everything to Marta, he had already left, but had like stopped and like formulated this plan where he comes back to the house. Oh, yes, sorry, at the 85th birthday party. Yes, he went back and swapped the labels on the vials of medication, so that she would end up killing Harlan through an overdose, thus making her ineligible to inherit because of something we learned earlier, which is the Slayer rule.
Correct.
In terms of will. Like, if someone is found to have committed the murder of this person, they
or
are...
is even suspected.
Yes,
like, is found to be responsible for their death legally.
Yes. Yeah. That they would not be able to inherit. So after the death was ruled a suicide, which he found out through like the morning paper, he anonymously hired Blanc to kind of go in and solve the case.
Yep.
Apparently Fran saw Ransom like doing the dirty business of switching the vials and blackmailed him at some point. Mm-hmm. When Ransom received the letter, however, he decided to rip off the bottom of the toxicology report so that Marta wouldn't see that she had committed no crime.
Right, because just to clarify for a second.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So the vials had been he swapped the labels on the vials. So when Marta gave the dose to Harlan in the first place, she had given him the correct medication.
Yeah.
But just later saw that it had a morphine label on it.
Yeah. Which is the saddest thing about all of this is that he did commit suicide completely unnecessarily and completely like not like wanting to. He wasn't like depressed, but he was just like taking the L. For Marta, it's so sad. It's just the saddest thing in the world, and it did upset me. It was very well done, this reveal.
Yeah. It was really, really good. But
so Ransom also burnt down the medical examiner's office. Yes. And then he sent the letter to Marta to buy himself time to meet with Fran to kind of deal with her, and ended up drugging her with the morphine that he had taken from the medical bag.
Yes.
And then he set up the fake email to lead Marta to the location to meet Fran.
Yeah.
Yes. And he got in and out of the house the same way Marta did.
Right. So...
which is why his grandmother, I guess,
his
saw
grandmother.
him and said, "You're back again."
No.
When she saw Marta.
Great-grandmother.
Sure. Yes. I don't... Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. So, She did mistake Marta for Ransom, but had seen Ransom come back earlier. Yes. And that is when the dogs barked, because the dogs don't like Ransom.
No one
does.
does.
Dogs always know what's up, unless they're my dog, because my dog would love you, even if you were a murderer.
Well, that's nice.
Even me? I mean, a murderer?
Yeah. So the problem
the character's
is,
name is Great Nana, so his Great Nana, I guess.
Yeah, Great Nana.
Yeah.
Love it.
Great
So we have him in the room, you know, the whole accusation has been made, but he hasn't
J'accuse.
admitted. Yeah, the j'accuse moment. But he hasn't
all
admitted
conjecture.
anything. Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's like, whatever, you don't really have me for anything. You can't prove this thing. You can't. And she didn't even die. So, like, Fran didn't die. So what am I even accused of?
Yeah, Marta receives a phone call from the hospital and says that Fran's alive. So
after he says that, she receives this call from the hospital and she says, "Oh, yep, Fran's alive." And so he then stands there being like, "Ha ha ha. I did all this stuff."
Yeah,
and then
like an
she
idiot.
vomits in his face.
Chekhov's vomit, baby.
So
Yep.
good.
Because
It's
she was
really
lying.
nasty.
Yeah. She was lying. Indeed, Fran had died. So Ransom did murder her. And he says, "Well, fine then. In for a penny, in for a pound, I guess." And in front of everybody, he grabs one of the knives off the wreath of knives and stabs before anyone can do anything, which I think is poor reflexes, but whatever. Grabs this knife and plunges it into Marta's chest.
Yeah.
However, it is a fake knife.
Yeah, it's a prop knife, which is something that Harlow... Is it Harlow Harton? What?
Harlan. Harlan.
Thank you. Harlan says earlier is like, Ransom's dumb as a bag of bricks. He wouldn't know the difference between a fake knife and a prop knife.
Yeah.
So that's nice. It's like a nice plant and, payoff.
Chekhov's knife.
Way. Yeah, Chekhov's knives. Chekhov's vomit. There's a lot of that in this, turns out. But so he did just attempt murder and also confess to a crime, which they did record on their iPhones, which is also a nice callback that they were doing that during the interviews.
Yes.
So he gets arrested.
Yeah.
And then there's a slow-mo scene of him getting put into the police car, and Richard tries to bribe the cops. And there's this whole subplot that I forgot to talked about. We all forgot about it, or maybe just me, and you just decided anyway, so it doesn't matter. Jamie Lee Curtis used to send messages back and forth to Christopher Plummer, and with the threat to Richard, it was in that same note, but he found it and it was blank. And then at the end, Jamie Lee Curtis, it's invisible ink, and so Jamie Lee Curtis knows that her husband's been cheating on her.
Yeah, because Richard had found this note in Harlan's drawer and opened it thinking, oh no, this letter is going to condemn me for the affair. And then it looks like there's nothing on it. So he's like, oh, whatever, and just leaves it there.
He's bluffing, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a dummy. I was like, throw it in the fire. What are you talking about? Always get rid of the evidence.
Right.
I would like to say something here as well.
Okay.
There are so many moments and so many plot points that we did not get to. Right. And that is okay. If it's a moment or a plot point that you liked, dear listener, just let us know and we'll respond to you on Twitter. We'll
talk to you about it.
It's not malicious. We're not like leaving anything out on purpose. There are a lot of really funny moments. It's just like we have to clip by because, it's a review.
You have stuff to do too. We get it.
Yeah.
You like listening to us, but you have to live your life.
Yeah. Also, we have to live our lives.
No, we don't. No. This is our lives. I'm kidding.
Yes.
It's not.
Trapped in a podcast vortex.
No, it's part of our lives, but you get it. We've been explaining it to you for 5 minutes now.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, the final moment of the film is fantastic because she climbs out onto the balcony, and then the entire rest of the family is looking up at her. And she's in a robe at this house, and she's got the mug that he used to drink out of, and it says "My house, my rules, my coffee" or something like that.
Yes, it says exactly that.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the movie. And you're like,
good.
She's the boss now.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What'd y'all think?
I was a big fan of this movie. We didn't get into a lot of, like, the way it was shot was just beautiful.
Yes.
Really fantastic. Clipped along at a good pace. Like, it wasn't a particularly short movie, but it didn't feel particularly long either.
What's the runtime? Like 2:05?
Great movie.
Something like that.
Yeah. Lots of stuff happened. Everything, the flashbacks were handled so nicely. I never felt like I was getting, there really wasn't very much of a, like, setup to it. It was just in on the action. You know, not too much exposition. That's the word. Performances were excellent. Rian Johnson's writing and directing is really superb. Good mystery. I was very thrown off for a minute by the fact that we found out so early what had happened, it seemed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, once I accepted that, because I was a little bit like, I don't know, because you know how I like a murder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just a kind of sad story about, you know, this well-meaning girl who accidentally killed her employer and trying to cover it up. And like, okay, that's interesting too. Like, let's see where this goes. So I'm rooting for her the whole time. And then there's this other twist at the end. I love it. I love a twist. So excited. Because for a while, while they were explaining it, I was wondering if somehow, because, you know, his throat was slit. And I was wondering if maybe someone else had come in and, you know, killed him with slitting his throat. But they were very, very clear about the fact that the blood spatter, which is not a real thing, but whatever, the blood patterns made it clear that there was not another person in front of him.
Yeah.
But,
except for the fact that she has a little bit of blood on her shoe, Marta does, which is very nice.
Which is why Blanc was suspicious of her the whole time.
Yeah, I would say the music, the aesthetics of this movie are like 10 out of 10. The art direction, the design. One of my friends worked on this movie. Yeah, he was an assistant on it, and they did a garage sale of some of the books at the end, and I have a couple of the books from this movie.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's nice. One of my favorite moments is the fact that he does, Blanc does say the title of the film. He does say Knives Out, which is
but it's not
A+.
A+,
well
pretty
done.
Pretty subtle too.
The editing was superb. By the way, the runtime is 2 hours 10 minutes.
Great.
Yeah, which is almost, if you're gonna do a longer movie, I think that's perfect. But all the performances are good. It turned me on two actors that normally I don't like, which was nice. And so I always like getting my opinion changed that way. And then also, I think Anna, I can't remember her last name. Tyler knows
Ana
it.
de Armas.
Thank you. Is transcendental in this. She's so good. Who plays Marta. And then also Daniel Craig has been on this streak now that he's like, I don't really care about James Bond, of like playing these really big characters, and I like it a lot. Watch Logan Lucky. He does like a southern accent in that too. It's very good, very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will also say, as far as mystery goes, this one from the get-go, because they do show us right away what happened, I'm like, okay, so it's obviously not just that. Because that's not how mysteries work. And so I had 3 theories working through. I had either A, this is what I really wanted it, and what it would have been if I had written it. So, forget you, Rian Johnson. It would have been the father orchestrated the whole thing. And he wanted it. Because he even says at one point, like, I wanted to, it'd be so nice to go out with, like, some sort of flourish now that I'm getting on. And I'm like, that would be really cool. I think that'd be really fun.
That was one of my theories, too, actually.
Yeah. The second one I had was that Marta actually did do it. And that the first thing was, like, just a twist one way, and then she actually did it. The third one was what actually happened. So... yeah. And I got there about 30 minutes in. But it was very enjoyable despite having solved it. And I will give that to the film itself, if that makes sense. Like, the film itself is so entertaining and engaging, and I was not bored at all.
Yeah.
Despite going, I think it's this, and then going, okay, it was that. But it was still fantastic. I had a great time. Tyler.
Are we not rating these, by the way?
Oh yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Why the hell not? 10 out of 10.
Okay.
I'd say 9.5 out of 10. I'd watch this movie again.
Cool. I thought it was a fine film. I did solve it quite early on. But the performances by Ana de Armas as well as Daniel Craig really anchored the film for me and like really made it worth the ride that we were on. And I'm excited that both of them will co-star again in the next James Bond film, No Time to Die. Yeah, they're in it together.
Cool.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And what a wonderful ensemble of actors in this film. Yeah. We don't really spend a lot of time with any of them, but it's nice that they all lended their talents to, this film for like these really, I know like there's no small parts, but for these small parts in this, in this film.
Yeah.
I would also say they're all so distinct as characters. You don't get like confused as to who is who and like that sort of thing. It's really, really well done.
If you
it did get like oddly and I think unnecessarily political at times, which kind of threw me off and kind of out of it. So the film did drag for me a bit because like it was kind of hard to like read what line he was on and what we were supposed to get out of this to me. Yeah, I mean, I would give the film like I wouldn't say a 6, maybe as like a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And I actually remember that thinking in the theater that the politics aspect might age the film quicker than it should necessarily.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call this one. I think our meeting is adjourned.
Time of death.
Yeah, time of death. Now.